You know, that's one way to start the morning off. What's up, guys? Nick here. Out here with my buddy Josh Parris, who's a guide out here on New Melones Reservoir.
Sir.
What we're going to be going over today is how to catch big giant bass in the summertime. And this is going to be like a two-part series. Josh is notorious for tracking down big monster bass all times of the year. I don't know how the hell he does it, but I'm going to get some more clues today just like you guys. But what we're going to go over today is how to try to look for some big giant bass in the summer, techniques to do, certain things to pay attention to. Josh has been tracking down certain shad balls, where the bluegills were, watercolor, temperature. Josh is going to be breaking some of that down for us today, and hopefully we'll catch bigger bass than the one I just stuck on this popper.
Yeah.
Missed the dink.
Like the one that came up first for it.
The first one was about 5 pounds, and then the little dinkosaurus came up and swooped it on him. But hang with us, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys will see some big fish and learn a lot of new stuff today. I don't know. Oh. So you guys wondering why I'm wincing so hard? I was out sea doing all day yesterday. I'm doing a little idea for a film where I'm gonna mic up and go out on a sea-doo and mess with some buddy bass fishermen. I'm gonna recognize the boat so I know who they are and then go mess with them. But my right arm is so shot from doing tricks and stunts on the sea-doo yesterday trying to learn. I was out there for like 7 or 8 hours. I could hardly reel. My right forearm's just trashed. I told Josh this morning, I'm like, dude, you're probably gonna have to be doing 90% of the fishing. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna be able to hold up, but I'm not gonna say so far so good, so far so bad. Just setting the hook on this guy, my hand came off the reel twice in pain. So I can't even hardly get the hook out of this fish right now. So take it easy if you're out sea doing a lot, if you got a fishing trip planned the next day, but I'll survive. There we go. Oh my God.
Oh, come on. Oh, of course a little guy takes it. Dang it. Little guy.
Awesome. Well, that was a quick release. What I'm actually starting off with, because my hands hurt too bad to retie to anything else, I have a original Man's Chug and Spit. They don't even sell them anymore, custom painted bait. This is a popper, probably one of the loudest poppers there is, that makes a ton of commotion. I'm trying to draw up a much bigger fish than average. My buddy Matt Frazier actually turned me on to this bait a while back, and we acquired some on eBay and got them custom painted. A pop R you can probably do just as good, but we get partial and we get crazy in the mindset of what a big giant bass wants to eat, and that's where Matt and I are on that. And what Josh is doing, he was throwing a bluegill style swim bait, throwing it down, dumped a big one. You guys didn't get to see that, we didn't get the camera on in time, but the water level's so high in Comanche right now, there's little willow trees and a lot of submerged trees, and Josh is actually flipping into those submerged trees right now. You probably can't see them. We'll put the GoPro down underwater and give you guys a look at those, but we actually are in a dingier part of the lake. That's what we were looking for. Josh, you said the majority is what? How clear?
I mean, it's anywhere from probably 8 to the best clarity I've found so far is still about 16 foot of water.
Nice.
I mean, still real clear.
But back here, we're probably dealing with what, 5, 6?
Yeah, 5, 6, and it's kind of even muddled. It's got a good stain to it.
Now, it's not only that Josh found the fish back here. What happens is when you get in slightly stained water when the majority of everything else is real clear, it gives the bass not as good of a look at your presentation, to where if you find active fish, they're much more likely to make a mistake in analyzing your bait and take it all away. So you're going to increase your big fish opportunities. You don't want to be in dirty, you don't want to be in crystal clear. If you have the option to find semi-stained or a little bit lower visibility, and you find those same fish that you would find in gin clean water, you're going to have a much higher odd of them converting on your bait. The crystal clean water, you generally have to get farther back. They're much more analytical of your bait,
you gotta
right?
be more ninja on them.
You got to be more ninja. There you go.
Yeah.
See, and I'm real small and stealthy, just like a ninja. So that helps me a lot.
Yeah.
See, Josh is more ninja, skinnier, smaller than me. So he should naturally catch more big fish.
Yeah,
it's a good excuse,
I mean,
right?
That's good, yeah, good analytical way to look at it.
But that's the reality, guys. If you can get out of the dirty water, but don't be in gen clean water, and find that in-between stuff. And, you know, we're going to go later onto the Delta and probably do another segment of tracking down big summertime fish, which is a world of difference versus a deep reservoir, clearer body of water. So we're going to get to that shallow, dingy stuff. And a lot of the time, guys don't really think about watercolor so much. A lot of, like, your weekend warriors are just saying, hey, historically, we've caught fish here. And the reality is, historical data doesn't always help you. You can keep it in the back of your mind and you can check those areas quick, but a lot of the time there's just that perfect watercolor. So don't think that you shouldn't search around through different watercolor guys. You're going to hear a lot of the guys on the big tournament circuits always talking about that. They were looking for that watercolor where the fish were most active. So keep that in mind. Watercolor plays a tremendous role, especially in summertime bass fishing. All right, Josh, so since today pretty much turned into a flipping day, let's break down some big summertime bass techniques. What have you been doing here lately on Melones? Because I know you've been doing a lot of stuff that we weren't doing today. We just got excited.
Yeah. So we got excited with the flip bite, and we kind of got stuck on it. We found some really cool stuff in which, we derailed from what we planned on doing. But so what I've been doing is really looking for 3 particular things. And for all my big summer fish it's going to be forage is number 1. You got to have bait, whether it be shad, bluegill, small pike minnows, even baby bass, anything. Crawdads. You need something to bring them in. Then they need some sort of cover, whether it be willow trees, rock ledges, big oak trees submerged, something of that nature. And the last one being fresh water, being close. And we've talked about this before with the whether it's water incoming, whether it's deep water adjacent off the main lake. It's a shorter little inlet that just has, clean water.
It gives them a more comfortable, higher oxygenated temperature. Yep. So whether it's the higher oxygen level or where it's that temperature, in this case, the majority of our bites were coming in the upper to mid 70s versus the main lake you said has been 80 degrees. Yeah. So preferable temperature for a bass is just like a human being. It's around that low 70-degree mark. So their efficiency for eating's higher. Okay, so they're more likely to perform more often and eat more comfortably and run baits down in that temperature. And Josh knows that. So this is where Josh is taking us. He's looking for that water temperature and then the clarity.
Yeah, clarity's been, for me in the summertime, clarity is not typically my friend. It's kind of a weird year here on Melones. We have abnormally clear water. I mean, it's still coming up. Typically we get our rise in the spring. This year we're getting our rise in June. Yeah. To where it's warm rising water. There's some of the clearest pockets you can go into, and I mean, you won't see anything. You won't see bluegill, you won't see bass, you won't see anything. It's 16 plus feet deep and there's nobody home. To where I guess there's a couple different thoughts on the clarity, but for me, I feel like they feel more comfortable shallower in the dirtier water. Absolutely. As well as they can ambush prey easier in a little bit more of stained water.
Yeah, I don't care where you go. I get to travel around the country a lot, and that fact stands true no matter where you go, unless it's just one of those bodies of water that's always gin clear, where you can't find that, and then generally I'll hunt out like a windier bank or a bank with more cover on it to where I'm focused more on shade lines or fishing the bottom down deeper beyond that visual line.
Definitely. All right, so what we're targeting right now is actually very, very backwater. This is not something you'd normally do on really any of the lakes, but historically the water is never this high. This is the first time in years, I mean, since I first started fishing this lake, that the water's been this high. A lot of times as the water's rising, it's typically earlier in the spring, not in the middle of June, those fish will keep their nose to that current coming in and explore all of the new territory that's now getting flooded. Lizards, snakes, it's all getting flooded out, as well as there's still a ton of crawdads, little fish washing out of the creek. So koala bears, getting way in the backs of these things. Typically, you're not going to get a ton of bites, but typically there's going to be a few better fish that are really hanging towards the back of these things. So we're going through with topwater, and really flipping has been my main deal back in these areas. It can be pretty tough with all the new flooded grass and whatnot, And flipping's just been the deal, getting it in around stuff and just picking every little nook and cranny apart.
Hang with us, guys. We'll be right back. Attention Northern California anglers, have you been to Boat Country in Ripon? With one of the largest selections of aluminum boats in the valley, from North River, Hughescraft, and Crestliner, chances are they have the right boat for you. And they also have a full-on service center to take care of all your maintenance or repair needs. If you're a boat owner or just looking to become one, you owe it to yourself to check these guys out. Visit BoatCountryUSA.com or stop on by. We'll see you there.
Absolutely smoked that thing. Look at that Sotopotamus, man.
Big one, real big one.
Yeah, God, choked it, dude, choked it. Look at that. Yeah, I want that headbang. Come on. Hey guys, Nick the Informative Fisherman here, and when it comes to my hooks, I demand superior craftsmanship, innovative design, and proven success. And that's why I've chosen to partner with Mustad Fishing Hooks. With over 180 years in the business, you can't go wrong. So if you don't want to risk losing a big one, I suggest you do the right thing. All right guys, we are actually, the water's raising about a foot a day in here. So Josh and I, just to go farther back into these creek channels, we're just creating holes. We're working our way through. This is where, Josh said, this is how you know nobody's been here. Because when you're having to take piles of brush off your rods, it's usually a good sign. You know, it's the good part is we're not getting this boat dirty at all.
No.
The boat loves this.
No.
Above and beyond, we're always preaching that on the show, guys. If you don't make max effort, you don't get maximal results.
Oh yeah, look at this.
Hanging around this town, throwing a salmon. You know, Josh is throwing a Sammy up there. It's a spook style bait that Lucky Craft makes. And in clear water, spook style bait is notorious for drawing fish out. In dirty water too, I've noticed when the water temperature's nearing 60 degrees, like 55 to low 60s, I'll throw a lot on like the deltas and shallower lakes and get a lot of big bites. But a spook style bait on the deeper, clear reservoirs tends to always get a little bit better than average bite.
Oh, that was a decent one.
That was a good one. Yeah. he left with my worm. But what I was saying is that spook style bait is notorious for getting bigger fish in deeper, cleaner reservoirs. These style baits will draw fish literally sometimes that are suspended 40 and 50 foot deep or over an open water versus an inline or a popper. And so when you're getting out on one of these deeper bodies of water in the summertime, so any sort of inland reservoir, mother lode system, especially here in Northern California, you always need to have your favorite spook style bait tied on, and try it in your shallow water, try it in your deeper water. Especially over deeper water. If you're consistently, if the boat's in 20 foot or deeper, that for a topwater bait is probably going to be your best choice. Any walk the dog style bait.
Yep, big one.
There we go. There's a good one. There's one too.
Down in the yard. Down in the yard. Out by the street.
Oh, look at the other big one with it. Look at the other big one with it.
Oh God, there's a 5 with it, bro. Oh,
well, that's why we came up here.
I'm gonna hold her with my left. I'm gonna hold her with my left hand. Go ahead and take a couple steps back there, Dad, to your left.
Oh,
2 steps to your left, Dad. Your left. There we go. Flipping pays off, and this is crystal clear. 4 foot below us, right into some grass, guys. So don't think that a nice big fat bass like this can't be hiding right on your toes, because there's so many times I pull in the shallow, clean water, and I'm just like, no, I don't see anything, and pull out. But the reality is, the cleaner it is, the more buried they're gonna get down in that fresh greenery. Beautiful fish. Guys, we're actually about 47 miles up this creek. Subtract 46 miles. Couldn't even afford a life vest. He actually wore the old school orange floaties.
Yeah.
That's when I met him. He was actually working his way upstream doggy paddling.
You say there's zinkers, I think, on your feet.
They say it's not the size of your worm, more of the motion in your flip.
Big one.
Oh yeah.
No, not as big.
Hurry! Get it, boats! More flipping action.
There we go. Not a giant. Hit it like a giant.
He did hit it like a giant. Tried to leave with it.
Yeah. But nice little flipping fish.
You know, we talked about the forage base. I've experienced some crazy things early in midsummer. I've seen crawdads burrowing on the bank. At Lake Comanche, I experienced a frog hatch.
Yeah.
Where there was tons of frogs in July up on the banks that had a lot of trees over them, to where the bank, the water, like the ground was muddier there, and the baby bullfrogs were there. And I was throwing up a popper in 6 inches of water, sticking monsters.
Yeah.
And this is all things you need to keep your eyes open for. Guys, especially in the summertime, you need to observe what's going on and look around. Don't hit your favorite honey holes. Your favorite honey hole may not produce. Stay vigilant, looking and paying attention to the forage base, and move around a ton. Every time I go with Josh is on Melones probably 3-4 days a week.
Yeah.
You're on Pedro, you're on Comanche, you're on Folsom, McClure, Delta. He bounces around everywhere. But literally, for the person who fishes this place the most, one of the people I know, one of my best friends that fishes it the most, he's still bouncing around a ton. So don't think that Josh is going to come out to a place and pick 1 or 2 spots and be successful. The most successful guys I know in the summertime are really running and gunning a lot.
Well, and that's my average day right now. We're burning at least a quarter tank, if not half tank of gas. I mean,
is that a clue?
So
you're telling me I need to?
You know, we are jumping around, and it's kind of like you said. The observation is a huge key. Is, you know, I think something a lot of people don't do is pull into an area, either fish it, and then just make another lap. See who's in there, what's in there, what, you know, is there actually shad up in the shallows,
Come
or
up
is it
close.
bluegill? Yeah, exactly. And that's to where if you're going through throwing a spook with, you know, shad pattern, you're not getting anything, and then you come cruise back through and there's no shad, but there's bluegill. And you switch. I mean, I've had it happen a few times.
Yeah.
You know, even up here is to where originally I was doing more of a bluegill pattern up here. Slow down, kind of watch what they were actually busting on. Turns out it's shad. Went to the shad color, and night and day difference.
Big difference.
Just like that, yeah. So as we're flipping along here, you can see a lot of real obvious targets, you know, above the water things that a lot of people are going to target. In my experience, a lot of those get hit a lot, and therefore fish don't. You will still definitely catch fish off of those, but like even today, we're seeing a lot of the targets that you can either barely see or you can't see, but you know they're there, are where the better fish are coming from. That one actually just came off of a, you can see this tree right here comes down, and I actually flipped out to the very front of that tree, and that's where that fish actually came off of. So kind of keep your eye out as you're flipping along, and don't just flip, you know, the willows, flip everything that could be out there, especially if you know there's something under the water. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Not as big as I thought. Hit like a ton of brig.
He did, man. He's going the other way with it. Oh yeah. Woo! Goal!
There you go. Hey. Well, when you see him chasing bait, you got to pick up the rig. So with the A-rig, you know, the reason we're not throwing individual little ballhead Kitex, we're actually throwing the rig, is, I mean, they'll definitely take down a single Kitex, but if it's any length of distance away from them, they're a lot less likely to travel out and actually go after that single bait fish. With the actual A-rig, it's a school of fish. They're more likely to actually chase this thing down, come out and try to get a mouthful of shad versus just a single. And he's got it. Not the right one though. Different fish. Dang it. Why is it the big one rolls, the little one chews? Let's try an instant replay of that, and instead, that 3 to 4 pounder come back. There it is. Ready?
Another small.
Another small.
How How many are in there?
Don't know. This is still not the fish that rolled on the frog. We got stuck on the flip and bite, and I think we burnt the trolling motor down, but we didn't run all over the lake. Again, the areas that we were focusing on, there's a ton of them across the lake. They are widespread, and you do have to spend some time finding them. But I mean, in a given day, with the amount of areas that I have too many more areas than I could fish in a day that are just like this. It's just a little bit of R&D to actually go find those areas and pattern them, and then find more once you're successful on a pattern. Even if it's not something backwater like we were doing today, if it's something main lake, you're finding fish. Last year, case in point was last year we found glide bait bite. I mean, it was hot and heavy. You found the brush.
I'll put the link to that video in the description too.
Yeah, you found the brush walls, and I mean, it was absolutely fire. This year with the rising water, they haven't really turned on to that bite yet. It's coming. They will eventually get on that bite, but it's not like it was last year. And that's where every year you just got to kind of keep watching, keep playing what's actually going on at the time.
Absolutely.
So when you break a rod on the dash and it comes back at 100 miles an hour, this can be what happens. It inadvertently took Nick to the general lower region, and he said it hurt. I mean, it was moving pretty fast.
Then took him down to the
I
deck.
can freaking taste them. I felt them hit me in the back of the tonsils.
Well, look at it this way. You've got an extra Adam's apple now.
Try me.
Yeah.
Felt like I was gonna throw up for a second there. Oh.
There it is. Nice fish.
Yeah. So Josh is hooked up here, guys. Last one broke off, broke a rod across the dash, got me in the nards.
Not as nice as that last one.
Rig back up.
We'll take her.
Another nice fish.
Good fish.
Yeah.
It's not the one that we lost that took my spook, but
Good fish though, either way.
good fish.
So we're actually in another cove now. And this is actually even dingier. So we ran to the back, found the shad, we fished in that one hole, got one big one to blow up on Josh's frog.
Yeah.
And now we're moving back down the bank because we see a lot of damsels,
Bad fish, but
the dragonflies. If you see a lot of dragonflies down a bank, you got off-colored water, just look around and wait. You'll see those activity of those fish coming up. And just like that, there's a lot of damsels right down the sides of the bank here. They're stacked on top of each other doing their thing, and there's big ones up eating them. So I'm sure you guys have heard for years that topwater will just consistently get a bigger fish than average. But the thing is, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Our shadow's shorter than the length of our body. This is not normally a preferable time to get topwater fish, but when the conditions are right, the bluegill are shallow, it's off-colored water allowing the bass to move shallow. We got damsels up against the bank. We got lifting water going into the greens, going in all this fresh foliage out here. This is where Josh and I are going to ignore all the signs for normally ignoring topwater conditions. If we weren't to see any of that, we would probably start deep and then maybe progressively work shallow if we weren't getting bit out there. But all the signs are right. Water's moving up, fish are going to move up. Off-color water, fish can get shallower. We're finding the bait there. Everything is right to throw a topwater. Normally, I would say, don't throw a topwater if the water level wasn't rising. If the water level was dropping, topwater could be a bad thing outside of those low light hours. But with the bait up there, that's a contrary to the rule. Bait's moving up, they're going to go where the bait is. Water's moving up, they're going to go where the water's moving up. When there's lower oxygen levels because the water's dirty, when it's settling, they're going to move into that shallower, cleaner water. So everything is forcing these fish to go shallow. Just because the sun's up, don't outrule it.
Come to Papa. There we go.
What Josh said earlier, and you're going to see, look at the size of the bait, okay, that's on that little minnow imitation right there. You're going to see if you threw that by itself, chances of getting a 2-pound fish like that, they're there, but the odds go way up, like Josh said, with the A-rig, because it's a much bigger reward for them to travel out to.
Come out and try to get multiple baits at one time versus just one.
In the early summer, you know, the bass post-spawn is really when bluegills start spawning. And what a lot of people don't realize is when the bluegills are done spawning, they like to feed up on zooplankton. And zooplankton are eating all the algae which grows in shallow creeks more often than not. And any area that has a little bit more greenery in the water, if you see hints of green, that's phytoplankton, okay, which the sun grows, that algae. And zooplankton are microorganisms which feed on those, which attract those smaller bluegills, which are therefore going to bring those bass up. You know, so early in the summertime, there's always going to be some shallow bass to be had. So if you go through and you catch like a 2.5 to 3 pound bass, you really need to stop at that point. Don't be quick to fire out, and literally look around, gather as many clues, and observe what's going on, what you were using, what's the water like, what's the water temperature. Acquire those clues, because then once you catch like a 3 pounder, it's usually they're on some sort of pattern. There's other ones there, and there's a reason for it. Don't always think that you just got lucky.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's, I mean, I think you covered it with the you know, finding their main forage. You know, like you said, there's multiple forages out there. There's fish out here right now. There's a good pattern in 30 to 40, 50, even 50 foot right now on jigs. Those are crawdad eaters, fish that are chasing crawdads. Today, we're chasing more of a bluegill shaddy pattern. But there, if you are running a particular pattern, run into it anyways, really define that pattern, and then it will help you a lot more to catch more fish in other areas of the lake if you can pick out the couple of ingredients that are bringing all of that together.
Yeah. And it's usually one of those patterns that the bigger fish are feeding on, and it's the guy who's willing to run all that water and try all those different patterns that's going to assemble the 5 best fish that day, and probably come home with a check if you're a tournament fisherman.
Absolutely.
Got a log tied to her?
Got a log tied to her. There we go. You know, we're a good team.
I had to backhand that fish into the boat. Oh, my hand's so sore. Yeah, she wanted it, Josh. She wanted it.
Oh, is it gone? Oh,
Back
dude,
in
that
there.
was 2 seconds of like.
Yeah, you weren't missing.
She hit it, gunk.
Knocked the reel off the rod seat and got a log around her at the same time. The best part about
It's a
flipping.
good fish. So, I mean, it's, you know, guiding out here, I get to see it day in, day out. And I see, you know, when we have a loud boat versus a quiet boat, guys who can make a cast, guys who can't make a cast. It's eye-opening to see the difference in when you're approaching and targeting shallower fish, fish that are in the back cuts. Even if it's out on Main Lake, those shallow fish are very observant of what's going on in their area. So if you come in and your trolling motor's hitting the bottom, you're slamming doors, you're, you know, oh, that was close to the mark but didn't quite make it, and then fire another cast up there, still kind of close but not there, you know, that sort of approach, you know, being kind of lackluster, just kind of willy-nilly in it, will really cut down on your bites. I've seen quite a few times, and there's a couple of small little areas that I have to where, you know, when we come in quiet, we make that one perfect cast. I mean, we've seen it a couple times today. That one cast right up the shot, boom. You know, the fish comes up on it versus you kind of miss the mark, and, you know, those fish, I really do feel like do the, oh, there went something.
Yeah.
Oh, there went
All the
something.
time.
Oh, here's, now, you know, you've kind of put them on guard already.
Yeah.
So,
Oftentimes what I tell people too, when they're target casting in the summertime, try not to make overhand casts.
yeah.
And the reason for it is when fish are shallow in the summer, the shallow fish you're fishing for, excluding the deep fish, is they're generally looking near the surface. They see what's going on above their head. You can make a cast and you'll see fish spook, you'll see bait spook. Bass are the same way. They hear your trolling motor, you want to ease in there, you want to stay far back as possible, but when you're throwing an overhand cast, they don't really see it. It's coming straight out of the sky and hitting, which is very unnatural. And Josh and I have talked about a skipping technique to where if you could skip up to the target, it's way more natural, looking like a bait fleam that they'll grab. If you can't skip, make a good roll cast. A lower trajectory to the water in the summertime too, to those shallow fish, is going to increase your bite ratio tenfold. If you're going to go out, catch 10 fish making a roll cast that was this high in a day, you would have caught 15 if it was this close to the water. And that's a simple reality.
It's amazing how many, I mean, we've done it in numerous areas to where you make that low cast, and I mean, I'm telling you, as that bait is going, there are fish that see that
You'll
thing
see 'em
flying.
swirl.
Oh, yeah, see them swirl. And I mean, that bait hits the water and bam. I mean,
Instant
it is instant taking it. I mean, they, you know, we don't give them enough credit for their eyesight. They may not be the smartest things in the world, but they are pretty observant of what's going on. So, like you said, that lower cast is definitely, you know, what you want to do versus that overhand lob. I've still had fish for sure blow up on a lob, you know,
They will.
boom, come down. But when they can see something coming versus it just spooking
They're
them,
ready to eat.
They're
It's not attacking them.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, you got to remember those birds come straight down from the sky and swoop on them.
Yep.
Those birds don't stay a foot off the water because when they were babies, they would have never made it to adulthood because some big bass would have slurped them down. Hopefully these guys, these tips helped you guys out. We're going to do more summer series, how to target big summer fish. I want to kind of base it around what's going around that time. Guys, if you've never been out with Josh Parris on the Mother Lode system or the Delta, he's booking all of it. I'll put all Josh's information at the bottom of the screen. One of my newest good friends. I've known Josh for a few years now. Really cool. I feel like I get along with this guy. We mesh well.
Yeah.
We launch each other's fish into the boat.
Yeah.
You know, we got good boat chemistry.
It's important, you know.
And he's got great breath.
Yeah, you know.
I wanted to make this weird for you.
Little Red Bull, a little Copenhagen in there, you know.
All right, guys, appreciate you watching informativefisherman.com. Look for Josh's information in the description of this video. I may have posted it earlier on the bottom. Call this man. Come out for a trip. You'll have a blast. You'll learn a ton. Remember, guys, bass fishing's a learning game. It's an enigma of moving puzzle pieces. The more of those puzzle pieces that are in the back of your brain and the quicker you can assemble them that day is the better luck you're going to have over the next guy. So appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.